everybody. Good evening. This is News.PH, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Internet in the Philippines is so slow that it is almost an insult to turtles. What is the real score? And can we do anything about it? But first, let's talk about the fire that caused an explosion at the Army's Explosives and Ordnance Division in Fort Bonifacio this morning. Let's begin with a live report from Fort Bonifacio. Miggy Ortilla is standing by there right now. Miggy?
Bye-bye. Hi, Pia. Right now, we are slowly seeing members of the Bureau of Fire Protection leaving the perimeter, leaving the area. But according to the Taguig Fire Marshal, they are still not officially declaring this situation as fire out. The fire started at past 10 in the morning, Pia. It's now 7:12, and it's still not yet fire out. As according to the Fire Marshal, it's difficult for them to penetrate the remains of the building or the debris of the building, as according to him, the Explosive Ordnance Division still has to make sure that there are no longer unexploded materials before they start the mopping operation. You know, Pia, we were speaking with a Bureau of Fire Marshal earlier, and according to him, as to the initial investigation show that the fire started from the reloading area. Reloading area, Pia, is where the bullet shells or the used bullet shells are reloaded with gunpowder to be used by our soldiers on the field again. And according also to the Fire Marshal, according to their investigation shows that this facility that burned down is not meant to house such powerful explosives and ammunition. And with all these seemingly glaring possible lapses or violations as to the fire code, Pia, according to the Fire Marshal, they are not able, or they wouldn't be able to fire charges based on the investigation based on their investigation, as this is a military camp, and bases like these are governed by military court. They may only enter the investigation if the Philippine Army asks for their help or asks for their expertise. Now, in defense of the Philippine Army, according to Army spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Noel de Toyato, every now and then, every so often, explosive experts from the military regularly and religiously check these facilities to make sure that the highly combustible and highly explosive materials are still suitable to be housed in that facility. Meanwhile, Pia, our latest information that we can give you is that the number of casualties is now at 25, with one of the firefighters sustaining second-degree burns and the rest with minor injuries. You know, Pia, ASCOM is not new to these kinds of situations or circumstances. Aside from this fire that happened in this warehouse back in December of 2012, you may not see it beside me, but a neighboring building, what used to be the Army Support Command's administrative building, also burned down. Now, it was not a warehouse of ammunition and explosives, but according to the Fire Marshal, it did have some weapons or heavy firearms as well, which also made it difficult for the Bureau of Fire to respond, as they were in fear of having wildfire from the bullets that were also in that facility. Pia?
Miggy, you reported so much ammo and bullets and C4, TNT in that area that burned down and that exploded. But has the Army told us what the quantity is? How many bullets, how much of the C4, how much of the TNT, how much of the yung bala para sa 105?
Yeah, you know, Pia, what I can tell you is, according to the Philippine Army earlier, all they can say is there were bullets of M14s, M16s, and some mortars, as well as some hand grenades that were there. We also asked the same question to the Taguig Fire Marshal, and according to him, they're still waiting for the actual inventory of materials in that building before they can release also an inventory of what was lost and the amount of damage or the cost of damage incurred in this fire that happened. We were also, according to the fire marshal also, Pia, he was talking about some landmines that were also stored in that facility. And as we all know, it's not allowed as per the Geneva Convention. So they, according again to the fire marshal, they found the landmines buried behind the facility, and it was covered with some tires. The tires burned, and according to them, it was one of the things that they first secured, as if those landmines also exploded, it would have been a bigger disaster here in the Army Support Headquarters. Pia?
Miggy, is someone going to be held responsible for this? Is the Army going to make someone responsible for this?
Well, as the fire marshal said, Pia, they could conduct their own investigation on this, but basing again from the fire that happened back in 2012 in the same compound, it was still the Philippine Army that conducted the investigation. They were completely hands-off, and that is why he says that it's going to be hard for them to file charges, again, not unless the Philippine Army asks them to join the investigation also. Pia?
Could you say, Miggy, that this could be one more argument for relocating military camps outside of the metropolis?
Again, Pia, I didn't hear that question. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, could you say, Miggy, that this could be one more argument to relocate military camps outside the metropolis?
Well, you know, Pia, if we were to be asked, it appears that these incidents are not happening for the first time, as we are not only talking about Army headquarters located in the metropolis. If you would remember, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2005, another armory which is located near the area here in Taguig as well, the NCR headquarters, also had one of its armories burning, and it was also difficult for responders. Back in 2003 or 2004, the same incident happened in another armory in Camp Crame, the Philippine National Police's main headquarters, the Logistics Command Service, and it was also a very big fire that happened, which was really hard to contain because of the highly combustible materials in that area. And all these incidents are happening within the metropolis, close to residential areas. Pia?
Thank you very much. Miggy Ortilla, live from Fort Bonifacio, the Army's headquarters. Thank you, Miggy. Let's talk now to Lieutenant Colonel Noel De Toyato. He's the spokesman for the Philippine Army. Colonel De Toyato, good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Pia, and good evening to your viewers.
Yes, can you tell us exactly what was contained in the EOD building at the time of the fire and the explosion?
Yes, this is the Explosives Ordnance Disposal Battalion. This is the headquarters, and in this headquarters, they also house the EOD teams that responds to calls for if there are bomb threats. That is why they are also in charge of training our other EOD teams. And so they have some instructional materials and unexplosive ordnance, inert unexplosive ordnance in their possession during the time.
When you say inert unexploded ordnance, exactly what do you mean?
If we say inert, it is without a blasting cap, or it cannot detonate on itself.
Okay, and unexploded, of course, meaning hindi pa pinapasabog.
Yes, unexploded pa siya.
Oh. So meron po kayong mga bala for artillery, no? Like for the 105 millimeter howitzer, for example. You have C4 there, you have TNT, for example. Is that correct?
We have some small arms ammunition during the time. That is why the media were here heard some small crackling explosions.
Lumilipad daw ang bala eh.
Yes,
Colonel, hindi po ba?
Pag nag-explode siyang gano'n,
Buti walang...
siya. Pero hindi siya makakalayo masyado because it needs an expansion chamber in the form of a barrel para siya ay makalayo.
So, buti walang tinamaan ng bala.
Wala naman.
Hindi naman ligaw na bala
The-
yon. Ano
the
yon?
fire was immediate naman ang response ng mga fire trucks natin. So the fire was contained, kaya it was contained in that building only, in that area.
Okay. Kanina we talked about what is there in the building. Can you tell us the quantity? How much of C4, how much of TNT, how much of the 105, etc.?
I can't give you the exact number, Pia, no? But for sure, it does not, it cannot conform to what they call it an armory, because our armories are outside the Metro Manila. Yung mga big armories natin ang meron lang dito are the ones issued to our individual soldiers, that unit of AOD, yung mga bala lang nila na-issue sa kanila, and small quantity of explosives for instructional purposes.
It's a very dangerous situation. As of this moment, Colonel De Toyato, it is still not fire out.
Hindi
that
pa nila
correct?
dinideclare because apparently medyo mainit pa yung lugar. That is why they're still putting in more water, yung fire trucks natin. Kasi yung ordnance, unexplosive ordnance, is subjected to intense heat, is already unstable. That is why very careful na ang AOD teams who are qualified to handle these unexplosive devices. Sila lang ang pwedeng lumapit para pag na-declare na ito as fire out.
Miggy Ortilla was reporting just a while ago, sir, and he said that there were landmines that were discovered behind the building, buried and covered with tires. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, that is correct. But these landmines are stable. Kahit nasagasaan mo yan o ibato mo yan sa hindi sasabog mo yan, because it needs a detonating velocity. Pero pag ito siya ay will be subjected to intense heat, it becomes unstable.
So you do have landmines in the armory of the Army?
Mga recovered natin ito, mga improvised
Recovered.
explosive devices ito.
Recovered from?
Recovered and for instructional purposes and due for disposal.
How many landmines are there, sir?
That will be one of the subject of the investigation, kasi lalabas niya para matanong ng ating investigating team kung ilan pa ang nasa inventory nila during that time.
Okay. So, sir, we are presuming na aksidente po ang nangyari. Nagre-reload daw po ng bala? Is that nagre-reload daw po ng ammo? Is that correct?
There is a facility there na gumagawa sila ng blanks na pang yung pinapaputok natin pag may mga honors. Yun yung blanks na
Yes.
105.
105. Okay. And then
105 na blanks.
So paano po nangyari? What happened? Why was there a fire all of a sudden?
That will be the subject of investigation, Pia. Kaya
Yes.
they have already formed an investigating team headed by the IG, Inspector General Lubascom, Colonel Berceles, para malaman kung ano ang naging cause ng fire.
Pero wala po bang nagsalita the minute the first responders got to the scene?
Wala pa
Walang
naman,
nagsabi
wala pa
kung ano
naman, Pia.
nangyari. Basta
Because,
nagre-reload lang sila. Parang ganon.
Oo, wala pa naman kasi kaya nga magpapakandak tayo ng investigation so that we can get to the bottom of the incident.
But normally, Colonel, di po ba ang reloading ng ammo, hindi naman po, it's not so dangerous, no? I mean, for it
hindi naman
to
dangerous.
turn into a conflagration or into an accident, talagang
Oo.
may pagkakamali na lang. Was there an officer who was in command at the time?
Yes,
Who was it?
Actually, may officer dyan sa EOD battalion.
Sino po yon, sir? Who was in command at the time?
Sandali, I'll check my notes. Colonel Season was there. Colonel Season was there.
It's Colonel Sison.
Hello.
He was there at the time.
Yes.
Siya po yung battalion commander ng EOD battalion.
Yes.
Aha. This is Colonel Florante Sison?
Florante, yes. Florante Season.
Aha, okay. Sir, hindi po ata dahil military camp po ito, parang hindi lang basta't makapasok ang fire department to do an investigation. Are you saying the Army is going to investigate it on its own?
Yes, and for sure, i-consult din namin sila kasi sila ang experts when it comes to the ng fire. Administrative na investigation will be conducted by the Army Support Command.
Sir, would you say that this could be one more argument for relocating military camps outside a very densely populated metropolis?
I cannot speculate, Pia.
You cannot speculate. But there are safety issues. You agree, sir?
That is purely speculative, Pia, this will be another reason because it will be the subject of the investigation.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Colonel Noel De Toyato, spokesman of the Philippine Army. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Pia.
We're taking a short break. News.PH will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News.PH on the Solar News channel. I'm Pia Hontiveros. In the second half of the show, it's an unli rant on our excruciatingly slow internet. Tonight, Pierre Tito Galla, or Jester in Exile, co-founder of democracy.net.ph, Cecille Soria, or Ceso, co-convener, Ceso on Twitter, co-convener of democracy.net.ph, and Kabataan Party List Representative Terry Ridon is here with us tonight. Congressman Ridon, co-author of House Resolution 1012, right? Yeah. Sorry, the complete title is?
Is Unli Rant.
Unli Rant. Yeah. How appropriate. Let's begin with this. I tweeted earlier, and then I said, describe the internet in the Philippines in one word. And normally, I don't know, internet in the Philippines, it's such a popular topic. Ang daming sumagot. There was an avalanche of answers. So, for example, at Politica 2010, Stella Arnaldo said, ambagal, and then Samson Bisma, he used the F word, eh?
Yes, of course. Yes,
Blank,
of course.
slow, and then Rene Santillan, Rene, worst of them all, lahat nga ng klaseng worst andito sa Pilipinas, that was more than one word. Gel on iyap, slow, in all caps pa. Sa internet, parang nagsisigaw, di ba?
That's right.
Parang sumisigaw mga tao. Mikey_Mon said, super slow, inconsistent, and coverage is poor, especially mobile broadband. Mom Blogger said, greed. Daily Gaga said, pitiful. Rich Fortunes said, slow, in caps again. Ragsters, Diego Ragragio said, sloth. Di ba ang sloth is that animal that...
Yes.
Ano ba yun, Pierre?
That moves at 1 centimeter at a time or something.
Oh my, the poor sloth. What an insult to the sloth.
Well,
okay.
yes.
And then Mon Pablo, slow, S-L-O-W. Carlo Pagio, ridiculous. Nero, 2870, shameful. JMR Imperial, sad. Joe Reiner, 5, scam. Meron pang scam. Liu Gan, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. Abomination. Chic protagonist, snail-like. Pinoy Mommy said S-L-O-W. Dionisi, expensive, slow, misleading. Same thing, slow and expensive. That's 2 words by MKTYO. The Sandbox Kid, I can't read this word. It says SH_T-Y. Marco Wanko said dysfunctional. Rose 218 said expensive. Tikit Kitian said moody, great 1 minute, gone the next. Jules Mariano, NTC must close down. Although we weren't asking if the NTC should close down. But anyway, is internet really that bad in the Philippines? Are we really bottom dwellers, cellar dwellers?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, we are. We are definitely.
Just in the ASEAN region, right? Or
No. Internationally, we're probably better only than several Central African countries. And
Central African.
yes,
What a comforting thought.
Yes,
Yeah.
this data is from the International Telecommunications Union, Akamai, who is one of the organizations who measures internet speeds, broadband speeds around the world. So we're not only really bad in ASEAN, we're also really bad around the world. Now, NTC Commissioner Gamaliel Cordova disputes this, saying that why would we be really slow when in fact we have the BPOs and ITOs here in the country? Now that's
Yeah, this is
misleading. That's misleading because these companies, they have CIR, committed information rate, or leased lines. Meaning when when they ask for 10 Mbps from the telcos give them 10 Mbps 99%, more than 99% of the time.
Why does that happen?
Because they pay for it. Okay. They are not like the normal average Filipino subscriber. When he subscribes to the up to 10 Mbps, he probably gets 1 or maybe less Mbps.
Cecil, is that the situation that we are in?
Yes.
Yeah?
It's really undeniable because everybody can experience that day in, day out. It's not just really how slow our internet is. The problem also is the reliability.
Yung there one
Yes.
moment, gone the next. Ganun,
Yes,
no?
and the
Minsan
providers...
mabilis, minsan hindi. Ganun ba yun?
Well, merong ganon. Tapos, we are also not given the information ng telco ng, as he said, you buy 10 Mbps. Pero, up to yun eh. So, that's the roof. That's the ceiling, I mean.
That's
but
why
what's the minimum?
Okay, they say up to. So,
Yes.
pwedeng bumaba.
Yes.
Definitely, most of
Okay.
the time, mas mababa. But how low? We are not told that. And then, what percentage of the time does it reach the speed that you pay for? What percentage of the time does it reach 50% of the speed that you pay for? Those information have to be included in the contract, but we're not informed of those. We're not given those information.
Okay. Congressman Ridon, are we really in hell? In internet
Well,
hell?
that's the reason why we filed the resolution, to really investigate all the broadband companies.
When
internet
is that
companies.
going to happen?
Well, we've resumed already.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I guess in the next few weeks. We have six weeks. So I hope the ICT committee would convene to talk about that.
Okay.
Ano ho talaga, mabagal ho talaga eh. And most importantly, with respect to their advertised speeds, they don't really comply with that. And one of the plans in the committee is for them to really demonstrate before the committee whether or not the advertised speeds are really being implemented by the companies. So kung sinabi nilang 2 Mbps, dapat 2 Mbps ho talaga yung makita namin.
Yeah. How are they
at
going
that
to
time.
demonstrate that?
So we plan to set up maybe a station for them to bring their equipment and
Yeah.
and show to the body whether or not, for example, in Congress, mabilis ba talaga internet nyo at this particular area.
Oo. That is a public hearing, so that means pwedeng i-live at, I'm sure we will have 150% viewership eh.
Yeah, we would want
Internet.
it to be really public for the broadband companies to really understand na seryoso talaga yung taong bayan dun sa galit nila dun sa kabagalan ng internet.
Bakit? Yung mga companies, ang tingin nila sa tao hindi seryoso?
Well,
yung parang
seryoso, but as an observation, also of the FCC, because what's happening here is also happening in the US. The observation is these telcos are so powerful, and pitted against them is an ineffectual NTC. So why will you not push the boundaries? The NTC is not doing anything. Neither is
not doing
Congress
anything,
doing
or
anything.
they're not empowered to do anything, or what? Ang daming dahilan eh na binibigay.
There's several ways of looking at it. First is that we need to look at Congress' job to evaluate whether or not franchises are, well, telco franchises are keeping their word. So that's one of the jobs of Congress. They issue franchises, therefore it's their responsibility to review the franchises and whether or not the telcos are meeting them.
Yeah.
Second, the NTC is the agency that is tasked to regulate and also put all those service standards for telcos. For communications. Now, are these standards strict enough? Are these regulations strong enough? The NTC can. The question is, why is the NTC not doing it?
What is the answer to that question?
One way I'm looking at it is perhaps the NTC does not believe that they have the power to do so. For instance, internet in the Philippines, well, broadband connectivity in the Philippines is considered to be a value-added service. Commissioner Cordova says that this is based on the Republic Act 7925. He is incorrect. There is no way for him to say that internet connection is value-added service based on that law. However, the franchise law of PLDT itself mentions data to be a value-added service. And that could have been the basis for Simeon Quintana at the time to believe that data was a VAS. And that prolonged until now. So one thing for NTC to do is grow a pair and
What? Grow?
become brave enough to declare to the public that broadband connectivity is in fact a utility and not a value-added service.
Are you saying, no, not are you saying, are you implying that there are certain sectors that are finding loopholes in the law or finding weak spots in the law?
Or probably not acting on the law. They have the mandate and the power to do so, but not acting on it. So
Yeah.
perhaps it's a sin of omission rather than commission.
It's also a sin of meekness.
Meekness?
Yes,
Okay.
because
Takot lang ng Kongreso.
Well,
Takot lang ng Kongreso
I don't know,
habulin
but
ng ano.
well, at least in terms of the NTC, it's a sign of meekness because these telcos are pushing the envelope. There is no specific prohibition for fair use policy. So what do? There is no specific pronouncement of the NTC as regards fair use policy. So what does the telco do? They implement data caps. What does the NTC do? Nothing. So you have here telcos who are pushing the envelope, and range against them is an NTC that's too meek to do anything.
Well, today there was a story, di ba? NTC orders telcos to cut SMS rates to ano to 80 centavos,
86.
no? Is that does that serve to assuage or
Well, they should have implemented that a long time ago. I think many of the consumers have lobbied for it in the last few months for them to implement it. It's actually a belated pronouncement. But again, if they're able to do it with respect to text messaging, I think it can be undertaken with respect to the internet also. Tama ho si Pierre kanina, nasasabi nila na hindi totoo yun na value-added service. Kasi when they say that it's a value-added service, they cannot impose regulatory powers supposedly. Pero tingin ko, the NTC naman has plenary powers over the entire telecommunications industry, including the internet, for them to really make certain that the telcos can comply with the advertised speeds and make sure that, well, internet ought to be accessible to all.
Congressman Ridon, will Congress be brave enough to make sure that these companies do abide by their franchise? Or
The review of the franchise of the telcos are in the pipeline actually. We're planning to really...
Pero ngayon lang, no, because nagalit na ang tao.
Yeah,
Tapos ikaw,
of course,
sensitive ka.
it has an effect naman. Obviously, the congressmen naman are cognizant that when the public speaks, alam ba, pork barrel, we spoke already. Sometimes you're a bit fearful of that, no? So, sana sa telcos, we want to see a snowballing of public support also for a review of the franchise. Kasi when you speak of a franchise, ibig sabihin nun, it is an industry that is imbued with public interest. So, ibig sabihin, they have a commitment to the public.
It's like airwaves, you rent the airwave. You have a responsibility.
You have a responsibility to the public. And with respect to internet speeds, I think it is something that, government ought to really intervene in making certain that the internet speeds are really being complied with by the telco.
Are you saying if there is going to be public support that you will, continue with your investigation and you will make these companies accountable, or?
Yeah, of course. I think even with respect to other industries like power, in light of the other the issues on power rate increases, I think a review of the franchise of Meralco is also in the pipeline. So with respect to the telcos, I think this is also being contemplated by Congress at the moment.
Hindi ba everybody talks about how the internet has made all our lives go faster, everything's the click of a hand, mas mabilis na ngayon. And then, people remember what it was like in the past, yung unang panahon, tulad nitong telepono na nandito ngayon na props. Because, and then, it just occurred to me kanina na, minsan, kunyari, maglalagon ka, tapos punta ka sa Yahoo, mag-open ka ng email, parang ang bagal. And then I was thinking, the time now, for example, I don't know if the audience, if anybody remembers these phones. So when you dial, pag ganon, maghintay ka pa, diba? Parang ganun kabagal yung internet ngayon?
Yes, Pia. It's not just a matter of policy, but that's a big thing. We need to pass laws like the Magna Carta for Philippine Internet Freedom, which is one of its thrusts is towards infrastructure development. But more importantly, we need to look at what is the infrastructure of the Philippines insofar as the different ISPs, the telcos, are concerned. One big thing that's not happening is, one, interconnection, proper interconnection of the telcos with each other. So you will
Why?
have...
Because of competition?
That's one reason, yes, because you lose your competitive edge if you are completely interconnected with somebody, because the quality of service that you will deliver will be the same quality of service as the other. Now, for purposes of the internet, there is what is called fixed peering, and that's not happening either. In fact, there is this telecommunications giant who is refusing to follow fixed peering that was proposed by the NTC before. Furthermore, there's also this another approach to ensure better internet service, which is called fixed peering, local loop, and internet exchange. The internet exchange proposed by the government through the ASTI, na everyone will connect to that, and the net effect will be that everybody has the same quality of service, which is relatively high. Again, we have a telco giant who opposed it while it was still in the planning stages.
Who is that telco giant?
PLDT. So they said, no, we don't want to be part of it. These are the wrong things to look at. When you're a franchise and you're supposed to be doing something that's public good, you're supposed to be serving the public, the competition shouldn't be in this manner. Perhaps you can compete in another way. But you're supposed to have the same baseline quality of service that's already good before you compete on other things like prices.
But you know, these companies can always counter and say, but it's a business.
Yes.
Diba? So there is competition.
And that's what Congress is for.
But that's part of the franchise. The franchise says that the government can compel them to interconnect. So perhaps that is one aspect that Congress has to look at.
Yeah, but there's the key word, the government can compel.
Yes.
So you have to have a government that is willing to do that.
Correct.
Do we have that government?
Well, we hope in the next few weeks. No? We have yet to see whether or not the NTC would really exercise its teeth with respect to internet. No? They're trying to exercise it now with respect to text, but again, it's a belated exercise. So the NTC and of course Congress will really have to do its job. No? Well, of course, the congressman would have to understand the internet in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you know, but I think the review of the franchise is, I think, one of the good measures which can be undertaken to really compel the telcos to, at the very least, accede to the demands of the public.
Okay, we'll have to take a short break because I have to make a call on this rotary phone. This sabi ni Kiko Acero, I want that rotary phone. No, you can't have it. News.PH will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to News.PH. Still with us tonight, Pierre Tito Galla, co-founder, democracy.net.ph. Ang bilis ko naman magsalita, parang internet. Cecille Soria, co-convener, democracy.net.ph, and Kabataan Party List Representative Terry Ridon. This morning, Mark Cojuangco was tweeting, under capacity but oversold, oversubscribed. Ano yun, Congressman Ridon?
Well,
Why do we have that situation?
yung under capacity ho talagang, I think there are several telcos na talagang hindi ho up to speed eh. So, talagang mabagal ho talaga sila. Ibig sabihin, no matter what their promises are to the public, talagang hindi ho sila makakapag-deliver ng advertised speeds.
So they're making promises they can't keep.
Yeah,
So
they can't keep.
There's no real truth in advertising. Parang so many Mbps, etc. Tapos hindi nangyari. But
meron ho ganun.
Yeah, but how can you make them accountable if that is the case?
Well, dapat habulin ho talaga ng NTC yun. And we ought to really talk to the stakeholders para mag-file talaga ng formal complaint. Lalo doon sa mga ganun pong mga telcos. Kasi, kung di naman pala nila kaya, talaga kahit anong pakit ho nila sa TV, talagang hindi ho nila maririnig. Kung sinabi ng 2 Mbps, malamang mas mababa pa rin ho sa 2 Mbps.
At saan dapat mag-file ng formal complaint?
Sa NTC.
Sa NTC. Ayun na nga yung problema, di ba? Parang paikot-ikot lang tayo.
Pero sa bayan ho yan. So, NTC tsaka sa amin para makakompel din ho sila.
Is this correct? Para bang we have world standard prices?
No.
But, no.
No, we don't. I'd like to add first yung
Yeah,
sa
go ahead.
idea of oversubscription. No? Oversubscription is the result of a business model that no longer works. Okay, when telecommunications was based on that kind of phone, we had queuing theory, meaning hindi naman kasi sabay-sabay yung paggamit ng telepono, di ba? Kasi you're using it right now, that means somebody else is not using it right now.
No, but we had the party line. You remember that?
Yes, but those were programmed, those were set up for that purpose talaga.
Okay, okay.
But for queuing theory kasi, it's simply that you can put in 1,000 subscribers into a network that supports only, let's say, 500 kasi pila-pila siya. It wasn't always on.
Yeah.
Now, digital communications being what they are, there's no queuing theory anymore that makes sense because it's always on nga. So you cannot have a network that supports 500 load up with 1,000 subscribers. That's the business model that no longer works. And that's one of the wisest things for Congress to look at. Why is still this oversubscription going on, if at all?
If at all, so we're not sure that that is the situation.
Because there has been no pronouncement from the NTC nor of the telcos whether or not it is ongoing.
So you just suspect that that is what's happening.
Yes, because that is the old analog method of growing a network. Now it's digital, so again, we don't know whether or not the managers or the decision makers have progressed beyond analog thinking. On the idea of world pricing, no, really it's not. Again, we have to think of it as a business, really. So the cost of infrastructure is this much in the Philippines. It's not as much in another country. Therefore, you can expect that the cost of connection in that other country would be lower. But that does not mean we can not do anything to lower the cost of internet connectivity here in the Philippines.
Ang lakas ng sigaw sa internet ngayon tungkol sa data cap. Ang daming galit doon.
Yes.
Explain first what it is, Cecille.
Data cap means that there is a limit to the data that you can download. So even if they sell it as unlimited, it's not really unlimited. Actually, if you think about it, nothing really is unlimited kasi you have limited time in a day, and then you have limits to your speed, right? So if you multiply that, yun na yung natural na cap mo talaga eh. Because you can't increase the 24 hours in a day. So, but aside from that, they sell it as unlimited without telling us that there is a cap. So for Globe, the cap is 1 gig daily. For Smart, it's 1.5 gig daily. What they're doing is, if you exceed the cap, bababa na yung speed mo. For instance, if your connection is 3G, gagawin ka ng 2G. That's what they
And you
do.
will see that, right, on your
Yes,
phone?
you
or
will
on
feel
your,
that
and you
in
will
your,
feel it.
yes.
Masakit yun eh, no?
Yes.
Okay. But kanina somebody was saying, okay, yeah, we know the problem. O ano ngayon ang solution natin? Diba? Bukod sa Congress investigation, making the companies, well, toe the line or whatever, no? Make them live up to their mandate, etc. The franchise. What are we really looking at in terms of a solution here?
I'd like to propose that that we support the Magna Carta for Philippine Internet Freedom. It's been filed in both houses of Congress. Representative Kimiko Juangco in the House of Congress and
the Senate, Miriam,
in the Senate,
no?
Miriam and Bamakino, who, by the way, is investigating nga yung speeds dun sa Senate.
Halos magkasabay kayo. Diba?
Yes. The whole point is we need to have a holistic framework for Philippine information and communications technology. Konting advertising lang ha.
Yeah.
Social media is not equivalent to the internet.
Yes.
The internet is not equal to the World Wide Web, and it's not equal to ICT. So the broadest umbrella is information and communications technology. The Philippines does not have an agency, nor a law, nor a framework that takes care of this.
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to have a department.
Yes,
right?
but that didn't happen, so sayang, di ba?
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to start now. Among the many things that we're trying to do is make a framework that's rights-based, and then it has to have a government agency, a cabinet-level government agency that takes care of this. Parang energy din eh. You have the Department of Energy that takes care of energy. You have the Department of Environment and Natural Resources taking care of the environment. So ganun din, we need one for the ICT. And then for development, we need to encourage a business environment that we encourage players, there's fairness among competitors, it's fair between consumers and the service providers, and more to the point, the regulatory regime must be consistent. So it's based on the law and it's based on fairness, and it shouldn't be naman na that ordinary subscribers take advantage of the loopholes of the law as well.
Yes,
And the same way that
dapat everybody happy, no?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
fair.
Or at
like you
least
say.
everybody unhappy. Diba? So basta everybody's on the same page. They're following the same rules.
Okay.
Ayun. Then again, yun nga, there's the policy side, and there's the government agency side, and then there's the infrastructure development. We need to bring in more players, things like that, or encourage new players to spring from entrepreneurs here in the Philippines, among all those things.
How do you bring in more players, whether from the outside or from within?
If we had an internet exchange, for instance, it would be easy for a startup to set up an ISP of their own. Because they'll just connect lang naman sa internet exchange, and then yun, they'll enjoy the same quality of service as everybody else.
Yeah.
Therefore, lower yung burden of competition. It'll be relatively easier to compete against the big guys.
Yeah.
At the same time, that will force the bigger guys to improve their services, improve their pricing, provide more freebies or more come-ons to the public, and the public becomes better served.
I wish we had more time to discuss all the salient points of the Magna Carta, but well, people can look it up on the internet. Okay, you Magna Carta. Do you agree? So, is that the Magna Carta will provide many of our solutions? Ganun ba yun?
I guess it's among the solutions.
Among
The solutions. But again, at the present time, I think we ought to really provide a warning to the telcos at this point that certain groups and, of course, members of Congress are really dead serious about reviewing their franchise to make certain that their public commitment to provide accessible access to the internet is really a reality to everyone and not just to a few privileged people who can pay for their services.
Yeah, okay. So you're serving notice, but will they take you seriously?
Well, if we can get the public support that's needed, of course, not just online, but we really have to make our voices heard.
Yeah, okay. Cecille?
Well, I'm one of the conveners of democracy.net.ph, so we're really pushing for the Magna Carta for Philippine internet freedom. We think that it's high time that the country has a national ICT policy. It was mentioned a few days ago in the news how the DOTC was involved in the distribution of computer units. Di ba may controversy pa nga doon. But this really shows how pathetic ICT policy is in the country, that DOTC is reduced to a computer-giving institution. That is not supposed to be its job. It's supposed to be policy making. So obviously, hindi din kaya ng DOTC because malaki din naman yung portfolio ng transportation. We really need to have a different department for that, and that's why we're pushing for the DICT.
What will convince Congress, both the Senate and the lower house, to get their act together and come behind for support of the Magna Carta?
I think Congressman Ridon is right, in generally speaking, in that we really need public support. We need our people to recognize that there's a problem, which we all know, and we need to act on it, which we should be doing. Now, for the general public to persuade Congress that this is the right way to go, I suppose it's high time also for Congress, specifically the House ICT Committee and the Senate Committee on Science and Technology, to start discussing all these proposals and bills.
Yeah.
Senator,
Pero kasi pwede kayong maingay social media,
Yes.
Twitter, Facebook, but they can always say, ilang tao lang naman ang nandyan sa social media. No? How many people are on Facebook? Less pa on Twitter.
that's true.
Di ba?
That's true.
Baka naman ang iniisip ng mga kongresista at senador, kailangan they want to see warm bodies on the street or what?
Yeah,
What?
that's part of it, and we can also talk to their kids. Yung mga nag-Facebook ng mga anak ho nila, di ba? I think it's in their interest really to have reliable and fast internet. So if we can convince the kids of congressmen and senators to really make this a very big issue for everyone, Di ba kasakali makumbinsi ho sila.
Okay, final words. Congressman Ridon first.
Mabagal ho talaga yung internet eh. So, kailangan ho talaga nating gawan ho na ng paraan at itulak talaga yung NTC na magtrabaho at magkaroon ng pangil. And sa bahagi ho ng Kongreso at Senado, tingin ko dapat magtrabaho rin ho kami para talagang tiyakin na yung better internet, #better internet, maging totoo para sa ating pong mga kababayan.
Mabilis at reliable. Cecille Soria.
Well, there has been growing recognition internationally na yung internet, it's a human right. So, hindi naman pwede na umuusad yung buong mundo, nahuhuli yung Pilipino. We deserve something better. Now, if our officials, if our service providers are not willing to give it to us, then we should be the ones to ask. So, I ask everybody, not just people online, people offline, if you can help us push for the Magna Carta for Philippine Internet Freedom.
All right. And Pierre?
We have had existing moves, and I don't believe them to be sufficient. For example, the NTC memorandum on minimum broadband speeds, which really doesn't work. We need to change that. We need to change the Republic Act 7925, amend that, make it more modern. In short, we need to catch up to the realities of the 21st century. And we need our congressmen to speak for us. We need our senators to speak for us. And we need our government regulators to act for us when we're not given the service quality we deserve. And it has to be fair. When it's fair and everybody is getting what is due them, then I think it's a good thing. So yes, I hope that the public supports the Magna Carta for Philippine Internet Freedom.
And on that note, thank you very much for joining us. Congressman Terry Ridon, thank you. Cecille Soria, thank you. And Pierre Tito Galla, thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for joining us and for watching. See you again next Wednesday. Good night. Everybody, good evening. This is News.PH, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Internet in the Philippines is so slow that it is almost an insult to turtles. What is the real score? And can we do anything about it? But first, let's talk about the fire that caused an explosion at the Army's Explosives and Ordnance Division in Fort Bonifacio this morning. And C4 TNT in that area that burned down and that exploded. But has the Army told us what the quantity is? How many bullets, how much of the C4, how much of the TNT, how much of the yung bala para sa 105?
Yeah, you know, Pia, what I can tell you is, according to the Philippine Army earlier, all they can say is there were bullets of M14s, M16s, and some mortars, as well as some hand grenades that were there. We also asked the same question to the Taguig Fire Marshal, and according to him, they're still waiting for the actual inventory of materials in that building before they can release also an inventory of what was lost and the amount of damage or the cost of damage incurred in this fire that happened. We were also, according to the fire marshal also, Pia, he was talking about some landmines that were also stored in that facility. And as we all know, it's not allowed as per the Geneva Convention. So they, according again to the fire marshal, the fire started from the reloading area. Reloading area, Pia, is where the bullet shells or the used bullet shells are reloaded with gunpowder to be used by our soldiers on the field again. And according also to the fire marshal, according to their investigation shows that this facility that burned down is not meant to house such powerful explosives and ammunition. And with all these seemingly glaring possible lapses or violations as to the fire code, Pia, according to the fire marshal, they are not able, or they wouldn't be able to fire charges based on the investigation based on their investigation, as this is a military camp and bases like these are governed by military court. They may only enter the investigation if the Philippine Army asks for their help or asks for their expertise. Now, in defense of the Philippine Army, according to Army spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Noel de Toyato, every now and then, every so often, explosive experts from the military regularly and religiously check these facilities.
Let's begin with a live report from Fort Bonifacio. Miguel Ortilla is standing by there right now. Miguel?
Bye-bye.
Hi, Pia. Right now, we are slowly seeing members of the Bureau of Fire Protection leaving the perimeter, leaving the area. But according to the Taguig Fire Marshal, they are still not officially declaring this situation as fire out. The fire started at past 10 in the morning, Pia. It's now 7:12, and it's still not yet fire out. As according to the Fire Marshal, it's difficult for them to penetrate the remains of the building or the debris of the building, as according to him, the Explosive Ordnance Division still has to make sure that there are no longer unexploded materials before they start the mopping operation. You know, Pia, we were speaking with a Bureau of Fire Marshal earlier, and according to him, as to the initial investigation show facilities to make sure that the highly combustible and highly explosive materials are still suitable to be housed in that facility. Meanwhile, Pia, our latest information that we can give you is that the number of casualties is now at 25, with one of the firefighters sustaining second-degree burns and the rest with minor injuries. You know, Pia, ASCOM is not new to these kinds of situations or circumstances. Aside from this fire that happened in this warehouse back in December of 2012, you may not see it beside me, but a neighboring building, what used to be the Army Support Command's administrative building, also burned down. Now, it was not a warehouse of ammunition and explosives, but according to the Fire Marshal, it did have some weapons or heavy firearms as well, which also made it difficult for the Bureau of Fire to respond, as they were in fear of having wildfire from the bullets that were also in that facility. Pia?
Miggy, there's, well, you reported, no, so much ammo and bullets and